Yo, what's going on guys, HyperX here, welcome back to another video for Arise of Awakener, and today I want to talk about some new gameplay that we recently got a chance to take a look at that actually gives us an extended look at this game. I previously spoke about this at the end of last year, wrapping up everything we currently knew about the game, which admittedly at the time wasn't a great deal, but there was still some interesting information. This of course is a game that is slated to come to PS4, PS5 and PC in 2023, and it is, or at least initially, the way it was described was that it was heavily inspired by Dragon's Dogma. It's a medieval action RPG, although having now seen the gameplay, it definitely looks a lot more sort of hack and slashy than Dragon's Dogma. It doesn't seem to kind of carry the same weight, definitely looks a lot more like, say, Dynasty Warriors or like a Platinum game or like a DMC. Not to say those games are bad, but definitely the flow and the speed of it looks quite different to Dragon's Dogma. But anyway, that aside, if you guys want a little rundown as to what the game is, I will link the previous video we did in the description box down below. But in this game, of course, you get to explore, fight creatures, ride dragons, command airships, battle, various different monsters. There are 3 playable characters, which I'll speak about in a moment. And just in general, from what we saw early on, admittedly, it is still, alpha and whatnot and sort of like, demo footage, but it was looking pretty promising. So in this more extended gameplay, we actually get a chance to see the game with HUD, get a feel for the moves, how things play. So I kind of want to sort of break it down because of course this is a video in Chinese, so we don't necessarily have all the clarification, but let's talk about what we see. So if you guys do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this and what we've seen so far. But to begin with, first things first, of course, from the map screen, we go into this like little sort of tavern looking area. And already, I don't know if this is just because it is a demo build, so they've kind of sped up the process, but it seems like there's no character creation. You go straight from selecting one of the 3 classes in the tavern, which is obviously the warrior, the archer, or the mage. They of course have a preset selection of abilities, and you then dive straight into the action. I will say, looking at sort of like the way games are typically demonstrated, this definitely does appear to be much more like a demo build, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe character creation is a thing, but it just isn't part of this build. But that much we do still need to wait and see. That being said, of course, when you actually load into the game, they start by testing off some of these you can of course see in the background. Initially, we have your sort of standard action controls that you will be familiar with. X to jump, circle to roll. Seemingly you have your basic attacks, so your light attack, heavy attacks on square and triangle respectively. You can also charge your triangle attacks, so you can basically sort of do some more powerful attacks. And then if you turn your attention to the bottom right hand corner, you of course have your special abilities on L1, L2, R1 and R2. In terms of meters, you of course have health, mana or like a energy resource, and we of course also have stamina. And it seems that the special moves in the bottom right hand corner, they will use the blue bar. Meanwhile, of course, rolls and just kind of general stamina movements will naturally deplete the green bar. Now, when they actually kind of get into the combat itself, this is what I was talking about before. It is definitely very fast-paced. Now again, I know it was sort of said to be heavily inspired by Dragon's Dogma, maybe much more so from like a visual point of view, but it definitely feels a lot more sort of DMC, Platinum style, maybe even Dynasty Warriors. The combos are very fast, lots of sort of like air juggles, the freedom to jump as well, like leap into the sky and kind of just start air comboing, things like that. It's not a bad thing. I mean, I do still quite like the look of this. It's definitely a game that I myself would play. It's definitely the kind of like genre type of game that I enjoy. But I will say, initially from the stuff we saw in the trailer, there were very selective moves, which made it a lot easier to sort of like make those Dragon's Dogma comparisons. Meanwhile, the more I see, the bigger the sort of distance between those titles, is, so to speak. Also, keep in mind, while this game does have mounts, you can get on horseback and stuff, you also seem to just move very fast. I mean, the way he's just sprinting through the different areas, seems like you might not even need a mount because you can move hella swift. They of course then get to the dragon boss fight, and I feel like the dragon boss fight is where this starts to fall apart a little bit. Again, I really want to like this, and of course I do like aspects of what we've seen so far. My one gripe here is that, again, this is demo footage. I'm sure a lot of this stuff, the fact that it is coming out in 2023, I'm sure they can address this. But the one thing you really see, like you don't notice this too much when you're fighting trash mobs and they're just fighting like, random skeletons or whatever it is they fought outside. When you fight a boss, you really start to notice the lack of weight. There's like a distinct lack of hit lag when you're attacking the bosses, which is the sort of thing you get more in like hack and slash games where you just want to lay waste to enemies. Meanwhile, with something like Dragon's Dogma or like Monster Hunter or something like that where you really want to sort of like feel those attacks, there needs to be a lot more weight when you're trying to drag your weapon through the enemy. And of course, the combination of just like jumping, dashing and just like attacking in the air, you definitely sort of see the combat against the dragon at least not look as weighty, as impactful, and that's personally something that I would like to see addressed. Maybe it's not their direction, maybe they genuinely do want to lean more into the sort of hack and slash, just fast-paced action, in which case fair enough. But I do think that, you know, throughout this gameplay, there's lots of cool stuff. Moves look very flashy, characters look nice, the whole environment looks nice. But the second they fought the dragon, I was a bit like, this bit doesn't look too hot. Also, I'm someone that loves jumping in games. I love the freedom to jump, but maybe it's just because the person that was demoing, like, really likes jumping and just jumps for absolutely everything. But I do feel like the freedom to jump quite so much just suddenly gave it like you know, their air combos just looked like they were just making a mockery out of some of the enemies because just things weren't hitting them. But again, you know, it could just be a playstyle thing. That aside, moving on, they of course do move forward and fight a few more enemies. Of course, we get to see like a nice courtyard in this castle, and then they work their way in to fight this second boss. The second boss battle actually looks pretty cool. Of course, we see some nice abilities. The boss has like a chain it uses towards you. The first sort of phase goes down pretty quickly, but it then does seem to have a second phase, of course, where things get a lot more spicy. Now, it's also worth noting that there seems to be a varying degrees of environmental destruction in here as well, because we do see that during the boss fight, pillars are getting destroyed and things like that. So I do quite like that that destructive nature of it. Definitely seems like you know, there's lots of interaction with the environment, other things like that. So from what I've seen so far, I am definitely interested in this game. I do like the look of the characters. I like some of the sort of flashy moves, the action style combat. I do just definitely think, for me personally, I would like to see a bit more weight to the combat. I don't even mind the speed, to be honest. I don't mind fast-paced combat, fast-paced combos, things like that. I just think it would be nice if it was like a little bit more weighty. But outside of that, I'm definitely interested to see more. They did also show a little bit of gameplay of the other two classes at the very end, but nothing extensive. It was just a quick shot of the mage and the archer fighting the dragon as well. I want to sort of see more of them, because I feel like maybe it's one of those things where when you're using spells, maybe it'll offer a completely different experience and maybe you won't necessarily notice the lack of weight as much. But either way, it is a game that I'm looking forward to checking out, learning more about. So as and when we do see more gameplay, maybe in the future get a chance to go hands-on, I'll be sure to keep you guys posted. But for the time being, I'll leave you with a little bit more gameplay.
进入使用大招的 BOSS， 那我们只要跟地上的我们就可以躲过这个 AOE 的伤害。当然，如果很猛的玩家的话，就可以冲上去把 BOSS 给砍下来。哎呦我跳！我刚刚把 BOSS 从飞行状态下砍下来，相当于是个停空斩。OK， 趁他打赢之后来个距离斩，啦到爸爸碗里面来。哦，这个大距离斩真的有够爽。刚刚那一系列操作，我觉得是一个精彩体验，因为并不是每一次你都可以打出这样精彩的瞬间，包括刚刚的空中停龙斩以及完美闪避的BOSS 技能这一块。好，放大招了，那我们就像个真人一样来打断他的大招，哇！哇，这个空中停掉大招，这感觉真是太爽了。哎，哦，这边有点操作失误了，没把握好距离。OK， 我跳起来闪躲，再闪。冲刺攻击 ，OK， 可以打断他的防御了。哇，这一段，我自己玩就觉得很爽。哎呀，我还是被他给，我靠，好家伙，你还像是个 BOSS。飞斩，空中续斩斩下来。好了，又到爸爸碗里来吧。我怎么这么喜欢喊欧啦？这感觉真不错。这一刀也蛮帅的，对冲互砍。他只剩1滴血了，那我们就帅气的把它解决掉吧。恭喜我在这边通关给大家看了。那么接下来呢，就要公布给大家这一次试玩的一个测试条件。
Thanks very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to catch more from us, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest uploads. And if you want somewhere to hang out, play games, or chat all things from games to anime, food to fitness, consider joining the Arise Gaming Discord.